Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for coming back. It has been a long time since I made a video, like probably 6 months. I need a little mental health break. And I just got burned out. I just didn't want to do it anymore. And like I'm just doing this for fun. And I'm back. I'm just here to have fun and share some car content with you guys.
Our chief engineer spends most of his time in his machine shop, testing his automats over and over again.
All right, let me bring you back up to speed on this car, on my 63.5 Falcon Sprint. Okay, if you're new to the channel, you've never seen this before, this is my 63.5 Falcon Sprint. She's very photogenic and sexy, so let me give you the full side shot there with all the curvature and whatnot. So this car was bought new by my grandpa in 1963. I've ended up with it. I totally restored it one time, had it on the road, and this is version 2.0. So anyways, long story short, it's a Roller 302 Explorer block. I've got Flowtech 180cc heads on it. It's got a B303 cam, Doug Tri-Wise, a T5, 350s in the. This car's a driver. It's not a race car. This car's a driver. Hence the creature comforts, the AC. And that's what I'm doing right now. I'm working on getting the AC. Everything else is lined out. Car runs great. It needs a front end alignment. I still got to do that. But anyways, this car is super together. It runs good. It's not a crazy motor. It probably makes, I don't know, 350, 375 horse or something like that. Plenty for this little car. But anyways, this is a little boulevard car. You know, take mama to the Sonic, get a hot dog, things like that. So anyways, this is the old Air products you can see there. I'm running the kit. So here's how I got it laid out. It's a under dash kit. And I just got all the dash routing. Had to cut this poor car up some more to make some room for lines. I've cut this poor car. This car is so complete, and I've cut it up to make it what I wanted out of it. Because, you know, you only live once, and it's time to party. So get the old whiz wheel out and get it did. That's what I say. Anyways, the condenser is sitting up there with one of the lines coming off. Anyways, lines come off here, go in, go out, and then I'm going to probably run it back around over to my bulkhead, and everything goes underneath. The dryer is probably going to be in the car because I don't have a good spot to mount it out here. I could put it here if I wanted to, but I don't think I'm going to do it. Anyways, that's the Falcon. That's where we're at. I got to finish the air conditioning lines on that. So I got my crimp tool. Made a big mistake. So when I was learning about AC hoses, apparently there is like a standard barrier AC hose and a reduced barrier AC hose. I ordered a bunch of AC fittings and borrowed this crimp tool from my dad. It's got a bunch of different dies in it and everything. I was like, yeah, that's awesome. Let's do that. I'm going to make all my lines custom fit so it runs, you know, great. There's a difference between standard barrier hoses and reduced barrier hoses. Reduced barrier hoses use reduced barrier fittings. So I messed up. The new ones will be in tomorrow. I'll make lines then. So I need to clean some of this up. This is a mess. But I think what we can jump on first is we can jump over to that Mystery 302, start pulling it apart, and getting it ready for transport over to my dad's house. Okay, so here's where we're at with this thing. We've got the top end blown apart, and I started going through it. What I need to do to make this thing easy to transport, let me back up. The reason I'm taking it to my dad's house is because he actually offered to put it back together for me, because we're just going to hone and ring it and reseal it and everything. And he's like, hey, I'll do it. And I'm like, if you want work, by all means, you can have this. I will allow you to do that. So we're going to get this thing ready to transport. We've pulled the top end off of it. And the reason we did, we wanted to get in here and kind of see what we were working with. Anyhow, it's all there. So I'm going to pull the lifters out and kind of keep them in order, and then I need to pull the pump off. We'll pull the oil pump drive shaft out. I'm going to leave the cam in there for now, and then we'll bag everything. We'll put a bag over it so we can get it in the car without it getting, you know, messes. Anyways, the top end on this setup is an Edelbrock E Street head. Now, I don't know if you know anything about the Edelbrock heads. They're not super awesome, but they're also not bad. These were, from what we were told, they were gone through at the machine shop, and you know, they assured that they were good to go. It has some comp roller rockers on it that are in good shape. Some double roller spring. Some double. No, that's not even a double spring. That's a single with a dampener. Anyways, one-piece keeper, singles with a dampener. This is fine for this little cam. It's got a Howard's cam in it. I don't know the details on the cam. Anyways, we got to get this thing apart and get it over torn down here. I'm just going to get everything kind of boxed up and cleaned up, bagged up, ready to go for Dad to come pick it up. I think we were originally talking about like using the engine hoist to pull that thing, but I mean, 2 dudes can pick a small block Ford up. So I'll just bag it and then we'll slide it off this. We'll put the engine stand in his truck also, send it on its way. Hopefully we can get that out of here tomorrow. All right, Dad came over and got the engine, so we've got that room opened. Let's come over here, work on the AC lines for the Falcon. So here, I got my AC lines in, and let me just show you a little bit of a difference. So there are 2 different size hoses. Actually, there's 3 different size hoses for an AC system. AC is kind of weird. So the line size are 5/16, 3/32, and like 1/2 inch, I think. And in there, when you address the fittings, they're either 6, 8, or 10. So they do the fittings, I guess that's like an AN, I don't know, I could be wrong. But the fittings are numbered, the hose is fractional, and none of it makes sense. And then to add on to that, they have different width hoses. So you can get a 5/16 hose, or this is 13/32 hose, like this. You see that width there? This is what they call a reduced barrier hose. Or you can get a standard barrier hose. I didn't know that there was a difference, so I ordered a bunch of standard crimp fittings like this. But if you look, the one on the right is the reduced barrier, which turns out that's what all my hose is. It's all reduced barrier. So I crimped one. I got them now. I spent like $40 and bought a bunch of the wrong stuff. Spent another $50, got all the right stuff. And this is the first crimp that I've made right here with that tool that I borrowed from my dad. It works great. So anyways, this line is going to go here, and then this one's coming up out of here, and I guess I'm going to route it around the back there and then down into that fitting. So I need to get that lined up and marked out and then cut, and then I'll show you crimping that fitting. All right, we're going to crimp this. This is easy. So first thing we'll do is identify like what die set we need, and if you read this, it says number 8 SRB, that's reduced barrier, I'm assuming, and then it also has a 6. So if it was 6 standard, 8 reduced is my assumption on that. I think that's right. So I put a line on the hose right here with like what direction the fitting lines up with. That way I know I got a good alignment. That way I got a good alignment with it over on the car. So we'll just make sure it is like buried in there. Make sure it's seated, I think is probably the righter term for that. And then we'll lock this in. And then what we'll do is, this would be better if it had like a way to like hold itself up, but it really doesn't. We'll just tighten it. Can you see me here? We'll tighten our knob, make sure the hose is seated. Okay, we got the fitting, about the same stick out on either end, and that hose is seated. There we go. Now we'll just run it in until it bottoms. We'll pull the pin, open her up, and dude, I'm telling you, that is some good stuff. Right there, check that out. All right, guys, next day, back out in the shop. Let me show you where I got on the AC line. It's all installed, and I think it looks pretty good. There's really not a whole lot you can do to like really make AC lines look good without spending a lot of money and doing hard lines and all kinds of stuff. But this, of course, is going to be tied up to the back here. And the thing with AC lines is you want to leave enough room for everything to move as the motor flexes and everything on the mount. So you don't want everything tight so it cracks and breaks. Anyways, so we've got the suction line, the big one, coming out and going into our bulkhead fitting over there, and that's going to the unit. And then the high pressure line is coming out here, and it's going into the top of the condenser, coming back out here, and then I've routed it back in there. So this is complete. This is as messy as it's going to get out here. I tried to route everything so you can still get to stuff. The valve cover will be kind of a excuse me, kind of a pain to get to, but I wanted to make sure I could get to the master cylinder reservoir and all that stuff. And it looks like I got plenty of room. If you look at it from the top, it's plenty of room there, so no worries there. And I played with different like positioning on these, and that's like the best I could make it look. So let me know what you think. What would you have done different? Would you put this in any other direction? Would you have routed it around the front? This seems good to me. I don't know. I've never built one from scratch. I'm going to put the front end, the grill pieces, and the headlight surrounds right there. I got to put all that stuff back on. But this is it for the outside. This is as much as it's going to change. With the air filter on, that's what it's going to look like. Now we got to move to the underside, and let me just poke you in here and show you what we got going here. So there's our bulkhead fitting, and we're going to be using those bottom two ports. And in there, of course, I got to put the unit. The whole unit's going to go in there, and then the dryer. So it's going to come out of that small line. That high pressure line is going to come out of the firewall into the dryer into the high pressure side of the expansion valve, and then of course the big 1/2 inch line going back out, the suction line. So that's it. And then I'm going to service this thing. Oh no, I'm going to pull a vacuum on it, make sure it doesn't leak, because I'm hand crimping all these fittings. We'll make sure it doesn't leak, and then we'll put some Freon in it and see if we have air conditioning in a 60-year-old car, which is kind of cool to me. Okay, under here, let me show you what we've got going here. So we've got the high pressure line coming in here through the bulkhead fitting. Still got to tighten it up. It's coming through the dryer. The plug's going to go in here, and then that's going to go out to the unit. All right, so coming along in here, I've just got to get the unit mounted, and I've already got the brackets up there, so I know it fits and everything is ran well. The only thing I got to do is there's like a suspension strap on the back, because the mounting points kind of mount it from the front. So there's like this. It's basically like plumber's tape kind of thing that goes up. I got to find a good spot to do that. So now I think what I'm going to do, since I've got all the hard stuff in there, is I'm going to put the unit back up in here and finish that big 1/2 inch suction line, and then that 5/16 line. I already got one side fitted, so we'll do that, and then we'll jump onto the wiring, and then, I guess we'll just service it after that and see if it works and blows cold air. Okay, I've got it all wrapped up, I think. I got to tidy some wiring, but the wiring's anyway all hooked. Well, it's not. I got to hook up that pressure switch, but this is what I came up with. This is pretty unobtrusive. That line at the bottom, that right there, that's the drain line, so I got to poke a hole down through the trans tunnel to get that go through, but everything is there. These two wires need to be hooked up. That's the pressure switch. But I'm gonna pull a vacuum on it and see if it does AC things and holds pressure. 46 degree air right now. Yeah, water temp's up at 200. I might shut it down here in a little bit. Well, I had a small leak in one of the pressure lines, a high pressure line coming out of the dryer. So I got to go to the parts store, get a couple more cans of Freon. It's just a $20 mistake, no big deal. But I figured now is as good a time as any to do the car reveal on the new car. So when I come back, you'll see it. Okay, so what is this car? This car's a 2010 Chevrolet Camaro 2SS. So it has the, oh boy. So the car has the 6.2 liter LS3. It's actually, this car's an automatic, so it's the L99, but the L99 is not that much different than the LS3. A little bit of tuning and the displacement on demand stuff, but all that's been removed out of this car. So for all intents and purposes, this is a LS3. It has a Brian Tooley Racing Stage 3 cam, all the top end supporting stuff, springs, retainers, all that stuff. And it has long tube headers, exhaust that's way too loud, and it has a built transmission, 6L80, with a Circle D. I gotta hold the camera. A Circle D converter, 3400 stall converter in it. So the car gets down. It absolutely gets down. It is in desperate need of a tune. When I got the car, I got it pretty cheap. There was a lot wrong with it. Check engine lights. I was kind of misled on what the check engine lights were. I should have plugged it in. I didn't. That's my bad for being so trusting. But I was told that the check engine light was just on because the rear O2s weren't turned off in the tune. That's not true at all. The rear O2s were turned off in the tune, but I think this car was tuned before it had much done to it, because this tune does not like to idle. It doesn't like to start, and it has like a park throttle hesitation. And I'm 100% sure the MAF wasn't tuned for the intake or the cam or the headers. So it's all low end stuff. It runs like a scalded dog on the top end. So it gets down. It absolutely gets down. The guy made some pretty wild claims on what the horsepower number was. He told me it was like 5 to the tire. I'm not seeing 5 to the tire. It's in the 4s for sure, maybe 450-ish on a good day. But the car gets down. It absolutely gets down. In the quarter mile, from what I could tell, I haven't done any draggies or even taken it to the drag strip, but I'd imagine the car is probably in the 12s, low 12s from what it feels like, which for me is plenty fast. That's a good street car. And it's nice. It has air conditioning, which it didn't have when I got it. Guy told me it had a slow leak. One of the lines was totally severed. Like, it didn't have a slow leak. There was like no way it would hold pressure. So I replaced that, serviced the AC. Been doing a lot of AC lately. Serviced that, replaced the line, and it blows ice cubes now. It's great. And the thing is fun to drive. And when I got it, I was like, yeah, I'm just going to drive it back and forth to work. Until I realized how terrible the gas mileage is on this thing. When I drive it like a jackass, it gets 8 miles to the gallon. To be expected, I assume. But when I'm nice to it, I can get almost 12. So that's still not enough to go 80 miles to and from work. For me, that's expensive. But I drive it once or twice a week to work just for fun. Anyways, it's a great car. It's fun. And it's a modern hot rod. I love the throwback styling. I actually prefer the 5th gen Camaro to the 6th gen. This was what came out, like, you may recognize it from Bumblebee, like the Transformer movies. That's when this body style came alive and really got some notoriety. Like, oh, because they dropped it in the movie first, and then everyone's like, what is that? And they're like, oh, that's the new Camaro. And they've sold like gangbusters since then. There's a ton of these units. What's cool about these cars is it is a front engine, rear-wheel drive V8 car. They made 1 million of them, and it's basically, it's an LS motor. It's a truck engine. You know, I mean, there's so many LS platform vehicles out there. These engines are a dime a dozen. And granted, this is an LS3, so it's all aluminum, but it's at least I think the LS3 is all aluminum. I'm fairly certain it is. I'll have to double check. I may be wrong. I don't know. I'm really not a Chevy guy, but it's just good, honest fun. and it's fairly cheap. And I think right now is the time to buy these cars. These cars, and not so much the Mustangs. I think Mustangs will always be kind of collectors, but they're not making the Camaro anymore. It didn't sell like they thought it would, or at least that's what they say. I don't know what the deal is on why they stopped producing this car, but they're not making it anymore. So that's only going to help the value of the car in the future. Probably not for like 20 years, to be honest with you. But as more and more kids wreck these and the numbers get fewer and fewer and fewer, the value on these cars are going to go up. Like right now, you can get on Marketplace and find a rolling chassis, like good looking car with a blown engine or no engine for like $3,000. They're all over the place. And for what I paid for this car, even with the built motor, it's way cheap. So I would say if you want to get into a V8 car, look at the Camaro. I mean, unless you're a brand loyal guy, some guys are, some guys, I don't know, whatever. Everybody makes decent stuff, and you can blow up anybody's crap if you try hard enough. But the LS is a pushrod engine. It's simple. It makes solid horsepower, and it's just fun. It's just cheap fun, and why wouldn't you? You know, that's what I say. I gotta admit, for me, being a Ford guy my whole life, I don't know. Now, it's not like it's the only Chevrolet I own. Like, I drive that one every day. And like I was saying earlier, these are just truck engines in this car. So anyways, this is my 2010 Camaro 2SS. So it has the 2SS thing. I'm not quite sure 100% on what that is. But anyways, it's an LS3. It needs some interior. But that's actually the only thing that is wrong with it. That's normal for these cars. This particular one's got 118,000 miles on it, and it doesn't have. I think it's probably got about 30 or 40,000 on it since all the engine work's been done. But let me open this up here. So this is just your standard truck engine, right? Just a LS3. Like I said earlier, it has Brian Tooley Racing Stage 3 cam. It's got all the top end stuff, retainers, springs, things like that, and this K&N intake, and someone's stainless long tubes. I don't know who makes those, but nothing real fancy under here. It's all stock on the exterior. It did come with a bent wheel, so that's nice. So it has a little shimmy to it. It's had a rough life. I mean, the body's decent. There's a few dings you can probably see right down the body line there, but other than that, it's pretty decent. Some curb rash to be expected. It's got this little ding dong thing put on there. It looks all right, I guess. Now I did detail the car. I polished it with a rotary polisher, and it really brought it out. The paint was neglected for a long time. So let's start it up. Let's see what it sounds like. Now, one of the things that happens with these cars is the batteries in the trunk, they have a real bad grounding problem, and this one's actually loose. I got to get back there and tighten it and kind of sort it out. But when they're hot, they don't want to start. Listen. Well, that one didn't sound too bad. Let's go listen to the exhaust. I did have this car on the rack, and underneath looks really solid. Car's never been hit. There's zero rot on it. It's an Alabama car from day one. I think it was purchased new in Decatur, like in that area, and it's lived its whole life here, so no rust. We don't have salt on the roads or anything. The only time southern cars get rusted is when you put them out in the field to die. and then leaves sit on them, and then they rot after that. But other than that, we don't really have a problem with rot. So this is a new car for the channel, and it's going to be a fun car. It's ready to go. It's a new, reliable car. We can do road trips in it. I kind of want to do power tour in it. I know it's not a super cool car to do power tour in, but it'll do it. And I don't know how I would feel like taking the Falcon on power tour. I don't know. So this would be more fun for that, or maybe drag week or something. Then I could just run like 12s across the the drag week deal. That'd be fun. But we are gonna get this thing dialed in. I gotta put some tires on it. I want to buy a drag pack for it and get new wheels, like some kind of like DOT approved slick for it. And I want to see what it'll do. Most of all the drag strips around here that I know of are all 1/8 mile, which is weird to me because where I come from in California, we all raced 1/4 mile. Everything was 1/4 mile, and out here for whatever reason it's all 1/8 mile. So I really don't know what a good 1/8 mile number is, but we're gonna find out. We're gonna run this thing and see what it does. Some plans I have for the future for the car is I want to supercharge it. I don't know if I'm gonna need to recam it or not. I don't know how. I gotta do some research. I gotta find out how it reacts to the Brian Tooley racing stationary cam, how it reacts to force induction. I just don't know. I was thinking LSA supercharger, but what you can get for like $4 grand, for like $500 more, you can get like a Pro Charger or something. So I don't know what direction I'm gonna go. All I know is I want to keep it streetable, and I want to keep my air conditioning and all that stuff. So that's the plan. Also, we're gonna be doing some tuning on this. I'm gonna use HP tuners, and we're gonna break into looking at what that looks like soon. And we're gonna start playing with fuel trims and things like that, and try and figure out this MAF. Initially, we'll probably do some remote tuning with somebody that I trust more than myself, but that's the plan for this thing anyways. It's a pretty cool car. But this is like one of my favorite features on the car, is that little pack of gauges right there. Anyways, that's my Camaro. Hope you guys like it. It'll be a new fun thing for the channel. All right, guys, we're gonna go ahead and wrap this video up. First video back in about 6 months. Thanks so much for coming around. Please go ahead and hit the like button and comment. It helps the algorithms. And if you got any questions about this AC stuff or the new Camaro or whatever, let's get in a conversation down in the comments. And let me know in the comments. Let me know what you think about that Chevrolet out there. Is it something that you would mess with? And are you impressed? I'm mildly impressed with the car. It's fast. The car's fast. But it's a Chevy with a truck engine, so I don't know. Anyways, we'll talk soon, guys. See ya.